Is one of the all-time classics. It doesn't surprise me that there's not a huge turnout for this one because, well, first of all, the subject matter, but well, independent comics are never that popular to begin with. But in the realm of independent comics, this is certainly one of the legendary all-time classics, certainly, where Joe Sacco's comics journalism. To the extent that comics journalism exists, it can be said that Joe Sacco is one of the pioneers of the form. I mean, there have been nonfiction comics before, but I don't think there's ever been comics journalism exactly this way. He was kind of the pioneer for this format. Nobody's ever done it exactly the way he did it, being embedded on the ground in conflicts. You know, and he's done this one. He's also done things with Palestinian Israeli conflicts. He's done a number of other areas over the course of his many decades that he's been doing this. Anyway, today we're here to talk about Safe Area Goražde. This is considered one of the all-time classics of the form of comics journalism. Very well known, very highly regarded, and you can see why. Any initial comments anybody wants to make? First of all, it was long, wasn't it? Sure heck is long. It's 300 pages, for goodness sake. Who finished it? I can't even raise my own hand. I'm on to page 200. I didn't get to all of it, but I said that last week, didn't I? I said get started because if this is long and you're not going to finish it, that's okay. If you only get halfway, that's fine. And I only got to page 200. I'm gonna go to the rest of it. I've heard about this, you know, since it came out. Came out, of course, 98, something like that. No, it had to be later.
2000,
yeah. 01, I think. 01, I think it came out. Yeah. I'd heard about it, but I never got around to reading it until now. Yeah, any initial thoughts anybody want to throw in? I mean, it's a remarkable work on a number of levels. It certainly is. You can see why it's so well regarded. First of all, Sacco's cartooning, you know, I mean, art being, we've always talked about it here. Art is just about taste, whether it rings a gong for you or whether it doesn't. You know, I mean, it's wonderful cartooning. I think not just his skill as craft as a cartoonist, but you know, the way he composes the pictures, and he really draws you in. Anyway, we'll get into it when I start the slides.
I finished it, but I was reading it over a number of months back last year. So I was happy to see it come up here because I'm interested to hear more other people's perspectives. And,
yeah. Okay, so you got your iPad.
I think David.
I think David's frozen at the moment.
Oh, okay. Can we admit somebody? I'm going to admit Carolyn.
Caroline's showing up here. Natalia is going to do her usual and be late.
Okay, that's one example of what's going to be happening all through this. I'll try to make it as unfrustrating as possible, but it is going to be very frustrating. What I was saying, Stephen, is turn off at least one, whichever one, turn off your video on one of them.
Okay.
He says, are you dead? Yes. Good.
Doesn't matter which one, either one. Yeah, there you go. That's fine, no problem.
What's the matter, David? There's two of me, one too many.
Now I have to repeat what I just said. As I was saying, this is a very remarkable work, certainly extraordinary, very tough given the subject matter. You know, it starts off slow, doesn't it? Because you start, gets you into it gradually. He gets you into it. He gives you kind of a acclimatizing period where he starts just being, you know, like it's just a slice of life, just very realistic. And I don't know how far any of you got into it. I didn't even finish. I got to page 200. But depending on how far you are into it, it goes on for a long ways, just very realistic, very character driven, very day to day, what it's like for these people, talking about their situation. And it seems very, very placid. And it goes on like that for a long while. And then it starts hitting you. And it hits, and it hits, and it hits, doesn't it? If you got to the point I'm talking about, it just keeps going. It just starts like punching you in the face, like, and it doesn't let up. And yeah, there comes a point with it where you just, you know, yeah, it's a lot, isn't it?
Can you give an example? I unfortunately didn't get as far into it as you did, but I'm curious, you know, what example you can give as far as.
Yeah, well, that's called a spoiler. That's called a spoiler, Carolyn.
Yeah.
I mean, if we want to, you're going to ruin it for yourself. All right, sure. If we want to, I'll go ahead and. Now the problem is when I share my screen. Oh gosh darn it. Okay, you're going to have to tell me if you can see this because I have no idea apparently. So let's see what we got here.
I was going to suggest you make Natalia co-host because I'm having trouble with my device at the moment.
Yeah.
Why are you using your phone?
Because the sound.
Oh, is it
I'm
malfunctioning?
not getting a microphone on my laptop. There was an update yesterday, so maybe the update's screwed around or something.
Yeah, there's a lot to this. I mean, you just first of all, you're just knocked out by the quality of
We've got the
Sacco's.
black rectangle in the middle there.
That's what I'm asking. Yeah, you'd have to tell me that. You guys tell me that when it.
Oh yeah,
you
I don't
see
know what that is.
You
Yeah,
guys, when you see that, you guys tell me that because I can't see it. Okay.
It's gone now. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yes. Okay. So as I was saying, you got to be knocked out by Sacco's draftsmanship and the way he is just such a master at cartooning, at his craft. You know, just it's hard to fault it. He's so meticulous in how he draws this. I mean, you really get the sense that there you are. You're in there, right?
Yeah.
It's remarkable. The attention to detail. It's just incredible.
Has a bit of a quality of Robert Crumb. Just the penmanship, I guess. Do you agree?
But not
I
only
see
that,
what- I
but the
see what you
mastery.
mean.
Sure,
I see
sure.
what you mean. Yeah.
This is not just the quality of the drawing, the pen and ink drawing, but also the mastery of the comics form, the way he gives you close-ups and pulls back, and how he panels, the composition, the layout. It's a master. It's a master performance. He's got a great grasp of how to compose a comic and how to draw your interest and how to, you know, the cinematography of it, how to compose a shot. Just an incredible visual illustrator. And that's a huge part of the comics experience is the visual. And he's got a good firm grasp on how to draw your eye visually and how to draw you through the narrative of it. They're not just good pictures to look at, but he's telling you a comic story Gives you close-ups when he needs to, gives you the long shots when he needs to. Good use of montage, good use of cross-hatching. Yeah, wonderful stuff, really. And he's just so detailed about it. So okay, so that's probably all we need to say about Sacco's cartooning. He is considered one of the greats, really. This is I mean, let's be honest. You know, I mean, I'm old enough to remember. I think everybody here, except for Natalia, is old enough to remember this. Actually, I remember it on the news at the time, 92, 93, 94. I mean, who knew the details? I didn't know. I knew it was happening. I didn't know anything about it. Who started it? What's it about? What's going on? I mean, I saw it on the news. I was just really young then. I was just in my early 20s. I wasn't really paying any attention at all. You know, you just knew stuff was happening out there somewhere. So what I'm saying is this was the first time I got the details of what actually this was all about. And even now, I still don't think I know the full ramifications of the full, specifics of it all. Now I have the broad overview, but even that's insufficient. You can tell there's so much more nuance to the whole story that we're not getting because there's just not room in this edition for that. And that's not the purpose of the book, for that matter. It's not supposed to be an exhaustive journey. It's not supposed to be that kind of a book. So, I mean, you would have to go deep into it. But at least now I can say that I know the broad ramifications of it, the broad situation. So in that, it's a very valuable work to know about this. And if we want to, we could discuss the specifics of it. You know, there's so much. There is a lot to talk about. There's a lot to talk about. I mean, this is about what the book is about the lives of these people, and these people are the victims of this horrible situation that they found themselves in, and what their lives are like, and what it was like to go through this. And it's their stories. And it's in that it's entirely successful because it really does give you their situation and you really sympathize with them. You really empathize with them. It's completely, you know, I mean, you would have to have a heart of stone to not be moved by the plight of these people.
I have a heart of stone.
Yeah, well, we knew that already, Stephen. So
seems like he focuses on just a few characters, like maybe 10 or so basic characters that he comes back to. It helps sort of draw you in, I think.
Possibly.
The reality.
Possibly. Yeah, I mean, the attention to detail, attention to the costuming and the architecture. You know, you could only get that from somebody who was actually there. You know, as he writes about in the intro. You know, he tried a little bit of actually drawing while he was there, but realized, yeah, there's just not enough time to concentrate. But that he got the ability to see it for himself with his own eyes. And that really helps with the depiction. You can really, you feel the chill in the air. You feel, the atmosphere. Those of us, I'm imagining none of us have actually been there to Eastern Europe. Certainly, I haven't. But yeah, you
it used to be considered an ideal tourist place to go. You want some rustic stuff at cheap prices. Yugoslavia was a place to go.
Yeah. Yugoslavia was always that kind of interesting country because it had a foot in both camps. It had a foot in the Western capitalism system, and it also had a foot in communism behind the Iron Curtain. Yugoslavia was in the middle of.
I guess we lost David there for a moment.
Between both of those arrangement, unique. Yeah. And I'm glad we got enough of the history that we needed. You know, again, I don't think that was Sako's main point, but you need to go through a little bit of the history in the background of what's going on. And I was glad for that. Yeah, so yeah, any
Well, I'm just so I'm
reaction?
so glad that a century ago we had the war to end all wars.
Yeah, as always, you know, it's always, yeah, what war is about, what war is, and you know, every time you get any kind of thinking on that line, you get the overwhelming futility of war, the overwhelming waste of human life and human resources, and for almost nothing, for no real reason at all. But you know, you go to any, you know, war novel or war movie and you get exactly the same. It's always going to be the same conclusion about all this. It's just so.
I was standing in a bookshop in the city of Melbourne, just a couple of years before all this started, and there were rumours that the Soviet Union might collapse. And I was interested in wargaming, so I went and looked at a little war game, and it was discussing what would happen if the Soviet Union collapsed. And it said, number one, and this is the most likely thing, and we can pretty much say it will happen, is Yugoslavia would split apart. And I found that such a strange idea. I thought, why? You know, I'm living in Melbourne, sophisticated Western country, and the 1980s had grown up in the 60s and 70s, and well, you know, strife and destruction were all things that belonged in the past. And I discovered that no. Look at Yugoslavia in the 1990s. It's back in the Middle Ages. It's back in World War II. It's back in World War I. It's all that hip scene we saw in the 60s fooled us. I did manage to read pretty much the entire comic and some of the stuff at the end.
I think David is on mute. I don't hear David. Does anyone else hear David?
No. Is the mute symbol on, is it?
Yeah, it is on.
Hey, David, can you unmute?
There he goes.
I was muted. I was talking away and none of you were hearing me.
No, David, that's such a tragic mistake to make on Zoom, and you're should be an expert by now.
Yeah. But what I was saying was, do you agree with me that the extra day helped, right?
Well, I'd only done about 50 pages before yesterday, and I caught up with it all yesterday and in the early hours of the morning.
Okay. How long did
worthwhile read?
Yeah. How long did you guys go last Friday morning?
Friday morning. I mean, how long did we go?
Yeah, because you guys were still going pretty heavy by about 3 hours in.
Oh, you mean Sapiens?
Yes.
So Natalia and I were still talking after you'd gone. I think that might have been.
I don't know. When I left, you were still there, though, Dave. Oh, but you didn't turn on your video.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, yeah, I noted a few things. Page 48, when he asked the girl, what do you do for fun around here? And she said, I don't have fun.
yeah, right.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know if we want to get into like the specifics of the details. I mean, I'm sure nobody here is an expert. It's just so very sad. It's so very, very, very sad. Such a waste of, well, certainly a waste of human life.
You must be an optimist.
I had a friend actually from Yugoslavia, although she had left before all this had happened. She emigrated in the 80s, and she still feels very, very sad to this day about what happened to her country, as she puts it. Yeah, just the destruction of a country for really no reason, no good reason.
Well, in World War II, hundreds of thousands of Serbs had been massacred. And well, of course, I grew up in Australia, which had quite a lot of Yugoslav immigrants, and that was, well, you didn't know why, but you understood that the Serbs and the Croats hated each other with a passion.
Does anybody know what state it's in now? Like, I guess it's being rebuilt and probably come a long way.
Well, I think the guy was pointing out years later, he said that the happiest and most optimistic period was immediately after the ceasefire for a few years. But then the grinds of daily life came back, and they realised they were living in a country with little opportunity. You know, there's no jobs unless you're got the right friends or connected in some way, which is very much the story of most of continental Europe. Unless you're a very talented person or you have the right connections, you'll probably spend your life unemployed. And so I think now it's just the continuing grind of a life without direction.
I heard that Game of Thrones was filmed in, I think it's Croatia.
Oh yeah, well, you probably got some good territory and at affordable prices. I think Eastern Europe's always been a popular location for filming when the terrain suits.
I guess they have a lot of medieval castles and this sort of thing.
Yeah, if you need a medieval castle, yeah, I suppose that's one place you can go. Although some of the nicest ones are in Czechoslovakia. On page 62, yes, the Nazis were aghast at the attitude Yugoslavs had to each other in World War II. The violence in Yugoslavia even sunk below the level of the Nazis.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you realize when you read anything of history, you know, isn't that the case, that history is just an endless litany of bloodshed and warfare, and I mean, yeah, it's the history of mankind, really. I mean,
hence they are called the mad ape.
And it's just so sad. It's just so very sad and frustrating, because you think it does.
I accept it as a type of normal. This is humanity. So I remember there was an episode of Star Trek where Spock makes a claim about mankind I've always loved. It's the one where there was an alternate federation. Somehow Kirk and a few of the crew had slipped through and found an alternate enterprise, and the other federation was fascist, and they found duplicates of themselves in the other world. And Spock made the comment at the end when everything was resolved, "I had a chance to observe your compatriots. Brutal, savage, unprincipled, in every way the perfect flower of Homo sapiens. They were so refreshing." Bones goes, "Jim, I think we've been insulted. I think you're right."
I think the darkest part for me was over a bridge. Did you remember that part about some people at night, in the middle of the night, going over a bridge, and it's just like blood everywhere, and
Right.
Oh, yes, the one old guy who'd been helped by one of the Serbs who was a friend of his. And yeah, they'd been executing Bosnians on the bridge, had been stabbing them in the neck and throwing them into the river.
yeah, it's just kind of unbelievable.
Oh, well, you're going to have to believe it. And who knows, the way you're going in America between the Democrats and the Republicans, maybe it could be a little bit of your future as well.
Well, that's well, Naomi, you're not American, right?
No, I'm Canadian.
Naomi's not American.
But still
Sorry.
has an effect on us. Has an effect on us too.
But no, yeah, no, excellent point. You know, every time you come across this type of thing, yeah, we Americans or North Americans will say, well, that'll never happen here. And don't be so sure. I would have, you know what, after the last, 10 years, not even the last 4, the last 10 years. Yeah, I make no more predictions about anything anymore. Yeah, January 6th, I mean, heck, no, I don't make any predictions anymore. And don't, I mean, yeah, I mean, if we want to get into it, okay, what was this all about? Basically, this was about nationalism, but, you say, oh, well, it will never happen. I just say, yeah, open your eyes, look, yeah, we're getting there, aren't we? We're moving in those directions, aren't we?
Yeah, I was just on Facebook this morning replying to somebody, and I wrote, "Hey, John, maybe you could read about a civil war before wanting to start one."
Yeah.
And I gave the link, the Wikipedia link to the comic. After reading the illustrated novel, if you still want one, I suggest a no obligation 30-day trial before signing up for the entire program.
Yeah.
Oh, was that in the link that you sent me earlier, Stephen? I haven't opened
Yeah,
it.
that was John Perkins, our old mate John Perkins, who wanted to exterminate all the anti-vaxxers and whatever.
Yeah.
He seriously said that? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe he's hit the bottle a bit too hard.
Maybe I should unfriend him on Facebook.
Yeah, you'd have to completely not be paying attention to not see what's going on in the world today, right now. I say, oh, this was 25 years in the past. Look at the CNN.com right now. So much hate and anger in a variety of different directions. Sure, choose your flavor. And it won't take much. It won't take much. Would it be exactly like this in this book? Probably not. It's probably not going to be exactly, but it's just there's a lot of hate and intolerance, and it's just getting worse. So
I read from the library the most recent Joe Sacco book, Paying the Land.
I've heard about that. Yeah, I want to read that.
It takes place in northern Canada.
Yeah, I want to read that.
It's interesting. It's very complicated because there's all the different points of view that the different natives have, and the skepticism they have of someone coming in and doing a comic book, but he gets in there and gets to know the people. And it's interesting, very interesting. It's very timely because right now in Canada, it's becoming opened up about a lot of the residential schools and the history of treatment of the children that went there. And
I've heard about it.
yeah. So it's an interesting book. It's complicated with all the resources in the land that have been exploited and the people's different point of views. Like some people who maybe made money from it or were able to get a job. Other people are thinking that it's just total exploitation of their land. But it's an interesting book and it's very timely.
Absolutely, there needs to.
Am I coming through?
Yeah, your voice is much better now. Yeah, can hear you.
His approach is a little bit organic. Like it doesn't seem like it's going from start to finish, or I don't know. I guess it.
Be a lot more.
Now I can be heard, can I?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Beautiful.
So this is certainly one of the essential comics to read. It's not a happy comic to read, but if you want to be educated in this field, certainly this is a monumental work. And I knew I wanted to put it on. I'd heard about it my whole life, never got around to reading it until just now. I'm still not finished, but yeah, one of the all-time great works, and Sacco is one of the all-time greats. So
I suppose his stuff, other stuff must be quite interesting, say the Palestinian conflict. And
he's done that. He's done a number. He's been pretty active over his career. Yeah, he's done a number of things. Mm.